What's up? It's Chris. Welcome back. I'm in a very, very creepy area. If this ends up happening to you in your gameplay, be scared, because it does get kind of creepy from here. And usually you get here when you're not in level. But the cool thing about this area is there's a shit ton of stuff to talk about. And there's a lot. The music in this area is actually really awesome too. It definitely sets the mood for everything that is here. So we got this first little note. It's madmen toil surreptitiously in rituals to beckon the moon, uncover their secrets. This is crazy because you're kind of skipping ahead in the storyline at this point, and reading that note would basically, and at this point when I'm playing this, I was kind of like, what is going on? There's also a lady down here, and apparently she's from Yahar'gul, and she's been, I'm guessing, abducted just like yourself, and she's basically scared out of her mind. She's calling the healing church to help. But let's go back to that first, that note I just read, and the madman note is what I'm going to call it. First of all, surreptitiously means hidden or uncovered. So that's first thing you need to do is define all the words in the sentence if you don't know what they mean. I actually had to go look it up because I didn't know what that word meant. I don't know SAT words, so but it's good if you haven't done that yet. Now you know. It means hidden or uncovered. So they are calling for the moon. What are they calling it for? Why are they calling upon the moon? Does it have special powers? Is there something cool about the moon? We don't know yet. I haven't got to the point where I can actually answer that question, but right now that note is leading me to believe that they believe that the people in this area, in this unseen village, Yahar'gul, believe this. So it's starting to make me think maybe, okay, so the game kind of goes from this plague with beasts. Now we're kind of going almost celestial with it, and we're talking about moons and stuff like that. However, especially in our folklore, especially with wolves and stuff like that, the moon does play a role, right? The moon does give the power to the beast. That's how the transformations occur. But that's our folklore. However, they may be trying to make a twist in the folklore or something like that in the game. So it's just something to keep in mind. So it's not something out of the realm of possibility. Right here is when I start realizing that the enemies are pretty tough. That guy took 4 hits. And it gave me some really good upgrade material. I was like, oh snap, I can upgrade my axe now. And this is when I'm like, okay, I think I'm further than where I'm supposed to be. And you know, you do find that out. I do find that out when I go back in town. I just talk more about this is really when you think of the moon, right? Especially what I try to do is I tie in like, okay, and this is before I go into it, this is a funny little cheap way of killing these guys. They get stuck right here. But what I do is I take what the game gives me, and then I kind of look at where could they have pulled this from in our world, right? And I know sometimes you can be like, well, they could just be plainly making it up, but I go, yeah, that's true. But they have a foundation of knowledge from somewhere, right? And the moon is a very tribal thing, especially in our world. Before modern civilization, before we were like, we can land on it. It was a very tribal thing. It was very something that was given to mostly demons and beasts, right? It wasn't something usually seen as serene. It was mostly seen as if something was wrong with it, then something was going to happen, and usually something bad was going to happen, because usually something like an eclipse or something like that, they would freak their shit. People would freak out. One of the big things that you really hear about is like a blood moon or red moon, and people all believe all sorts of things in back in the day. And one of them was that the different cycles of the moon could alter the way humans react. Also that the moon, a red moon or a blood moon, could be the sign of an apocalypse, right, or a sign of a big change or an event happening. So these are kind of things I think the people who make these stories up pull this foundation from, right? And then they go in their own direction with it. So I'm not saying that this game, that's what it's saying, but I'm saying I'm using that as a basis to figure out what they're trying to get to. Now, to me, I think right now the way this is going, especially since I've played through this episode, so I kind of know a little bit more about what's going to happen before you see it. It seems to be harking on the moon a lot, so I'm starting to think that they're going to be using the moon as a big critical point for something, that they're going to be doing something with it to emphasize something that's going to happen in the story. What that is yet, I don't know. Again, look, I find something with the moon. And this I haven't seen yet in the game at all, so I was like, what is this? It just said moon, and it looked like a piece of paper. and I'm looking around just in case I don't want to get attacked because I picked this up. So it says a secret symbol left by Paarl, runesmith of Byrgenwerth, a transcription of Moon as spoken by the Great Ones inhabiting the Nightmare, gain more blood echoes. The Great Ones that inhabit the Nightmare are sympathetic in spirit and often answer when called upon. This just like blew my mind when I read. I was like, okay, there's like so much stuff in this one little rune that you could talk about, and it also reminded me that in this game there's actually you actually have 4 rune slots. One of them I think is for a covenant, and then 3 of them you actually put on yourself. That's just, you know, that's just gameplay stuff, but it reminded me that this was even in the game. I totally forgot up to this point that you could do that. However, I think you have to unlock it, and that's where I should have went to, or I should have started going towards, but then I decided I wanted to get abducted because I saw it happen in my other game, and I wanted to get through it and see what it was like. So this is where I'm at right now. Now, right here, I look over here, and I start checking out the architecture, and we'll talk about that rune in a minute, but I start looking at the architecture, I start looking around and seeing like, okay, what is this place? I see this thing right here. So maybe they're abducting people to torture them or sacrifice them by doing something like this. And then I look up and I'm like, what the is that? What is that? That is not anything I've seen. It doesn't look like a werewolf. It doesn't look anything like I've seen anywhere in the game really so far that I fought or anything like that. And I start seeing these statues and I'm like, this is very, very Cthulhu, Lovecraftian kind of stuff. Like, I'm looking at this, I'm like, this is very Lovecraftian. And I see this other note: Nightmarish rituals crave a newborn, find one, and silence its harrowing cry. So it's talking about the ritual again, and it's calling it a Nightmarish ritual. So in other words, this ritual is probably about like sacrificial, maybe. That'd be what a Nightmarish ritual would be to me. If it's not Nightmarish, then it could be any kind of ritual, but that kind of alludes to me that it's something like sacrificial. They're abducting people to sacrifice to the moon. So going back to that moon rune, first of all, it talks about a Paarl, who's a runesmith apparently of Byrgenwerth. So this guy makes these runes. How he does it, we don't know, but we can say that it more than likely ties in with whatever holy medium they found underground. So however he makes these runes, he probably uses that to make them. And then it talks about Great Ones. I don't know if I've heard Great Ones yet. I may have. I may be mistaken. I may have heard it. But it alludes to that there's these Great Ones, and they inhabit this nightmare. And not only is there one, there's multiple Great Ones. It's plural. It's not like the Great One. It's Great Ones. So apparently that's what that is. So then I started making, I was like, maybe that statue back there that I was looking at that I didn't know what the hell it was, maybe that is a Great One, or one of the Great Ones. Who knows, right? Maybe in this world, people consider them to be gods, but in reality, they're more than anything, maybe just different types of beasts. This is things that start running through my mind as I'm thinking, that this stupid pig follows me in this hallway. Try my little trap move again, and it doesn't work sometimes. However, it starts bringing this into my mind, and then it says they are sympathetic in spirit. But I don't know, that seems a little fishy to me, especially since there's a lot of things going wrong in this world. Maybe they seem sympathetic, like they care, but at the same time, they also want to do their own bidding, or they have their own agenda to fulfill, so they use the humans to do that. It's just something that kind of blew my mind. All of a sudden I hear all these different terms and phrases, so I can definitely tell at this point I've probably skipped further than I'm supposed to in the storyline, but I'm getting a lot of good stuff from it, and I'm starting to make these kind of thoughts and progresses in my mind about how this is all going. So I was like, okay, cool, collect yourself, you know. You're now in Yahar'gul, right? Unseen village, which is very strange that it's called the Unseen Village when there's nothing unseen about it. It exists. It's right here, like right over there is Yharnam. You can see it. So what is unseen about it? And we allude to that a little bit later. We start talking, and you can kind of start seeing why. And I start realizing that there's a lot more going on than just beast and blood and plague. There's something else, an outside realm. Now, the biggest word used so far, we saw, I think 2 times already now in just this episode, is the word nightmare. And we've heard the word dream. So the word dream and nightmare are kind of being thrown around a lot. And these words have been thrown around, and we don't really have anything other than the place that we go to every time we want rest and a safe place to go is called Hunter's Dream. This place seems to be real enough, right? Or at least it does on the outside. It seems to be real enough. However, once I reached this area, I started thinking about what are they really talking about? What is the dream? Or what is the nightmare that they're alluding to? How come one person calls it a nightmare while the other people are calling it a dream? This unseen village seems to be using the word nightmare a lot, but the Yahar'gul people, or the people in the healing church, seem to call it a dream. Why? Why is that term different? Why do these people think it's a nightmare while the others believe it to be different? And I think some of those questions will be answered. Either I talk a little bit more about it in this episode or not. Now, the other thing is that there's a lot of unseen things going on, and that really alludes to the word insight in this game. There's even the mechanics in the game, even though they are mechanics, right? Like blood echoes are used to level up. Insight seems to be used to buy some stuff from the messengers. Those things, even though they are a mechanic and they have reasoning and they have a way to gain and lose them, at the same time they do have a lore significance, right? Blood echoes have their lore significance with blood ministration and having to do with blood, and there's a lot more you can talk about that. But I really want to focus on insight. And I'll talk about it here a little bit more, but I hit this note right here, and I really wanted to say, behold, a Paleblood sky. and even though it's very short and very simple, there's a lot to that note, especially the word Paleblood. If you remember, at the very beginning, we were called a Paleblood. The guy who was giving us blood, which I think was Germon, I think it was. I think at this point, I'm pretty sure it was. He gave us and well, he didn't give us, well, he gave us our blood ministration, it looked like, but he called us Paleblood. And that's a very like weird thing. And the whole time we actually asked Gilbert, I think later in the game when we talked to him through the window, we saw it. We asked him, he's like, Paleblood, I don't know what that means, but if you want to find out, your answer is going to be inside this area near the central cathedral ward. So that's where you're going to probably find your answer, because that's the place where they've done all the blood stuff. I find a suit of armor here, and we'll talk about it a little bit more here in a second, but it says the hunters of Yahar'gul answer to the village founders, the school of Mensis. Hunters in name only, these kidnappers wear their black hoods low to shadow their eyes. This one says that it's made of metal. It's a very rare hunter garb for that to happen. It's high in defense. Something that's weird that, and if you look at it, when you put it on, the metal's only on the front part of the face. And this says the same thing, except at the bottom it says designed primarily to defend from physical attackers. The binding of thick rope not only like protects the person, but it's also used as restraint. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let me go back to talking about Paleblood. Now, like I said at the beginning of the game, you're called a Paleblood. This note says, "Behold, a Paleblood sky." And it kind of, to me, that's like kind of saying, look, Superman, in a weird way. I know that sounds really weird the way I say that, but what I'm trying to say is that something's coming. Maybe it's alluding to you. I like the word alluding. I just realized that I use that word a lot. I need to find a new word. I need a thesaurus. Figure out another word for that. It's pointing to the fact that, there we go. I'm gonna use that. It's pointing to the fact that maybe you're coming and you're gonna make a big decision, or you're gonna do something. And you know, these Dark Soul and Demon Souls games, you're always given a decision at the end of the game. So to me, that's not a big revelation, right? You should know that probably at the end of this game you're gonna get a decision, and usually it probably doesn't even matter. and there's some kind of cycle involved, right? There's gonna be some kind of cycle, and you're gonna either end the cycle and it's gonna be either bad or good, or you're gonna continue the cycle and it's either gonna be bad or good. But I think that's kind of what that note is trying to say, is just saying, you know, behold, this person is coming, be prepared, right? Now, is it because of what these people in Yahar'gul are doing? Are they the ones summoning you here by all their sacrificing and stuff? Are you that person? Or is there something else coming? And that's something I can't answer right now. I don't know. I haven't gone that far. But that's something to keep in the back of my mind. Is that what's going on? Also, if you remember at the beginning of the game, right after you get out of your little bed, after getting your little blood work done, you find a note like sitting on a chair right there. It's like right there, and it basically says that you need to find the Paleblood to transcend the hunt. It's kind of weird, right? Because if you're the Paleblood, then why can't you be the one that transcends it, right? They're calling you Paleblood, but is there another, or can there be another? And this whole scenario right here with this note kind of brought me back to that fact that these guys, I'm really starting to believe that this village, or this unseen place, supposedly, is summoning something that needs to make a change happen. And what that is, like I said, I don't know yet. And are you the newborn? A minute ago, we just saw a note that says about crave a newborn, calling on the moon for a newborn. Are you that person? I mean, I'm sitting here with my arms shrugged. I don't know. Maybe you can be. Maybe there's something else that's already newborn. But I haven't gotten enough evidence to know anything else other than that. So back to the outfit that I just got, the Yahar'gul outfit. It talks about, it has a lot of stuff in there too. Like I said, like all of a sudden when you hit this area, you can tell that you're in an area that's further along in the game, because it's throwing stuff at you that you haven't heard anything about yet. And one of them is that these people in this village seem to believe, or seem to not believe so much in the healing church, but in something they call School of Mensis. Now, if you look up the word Mensis, or you ever decide to, it's a Latin word, I believe, for third, but it's also an old term for the moon, and ultimately it's actually measure of the moon. So in other words, it's how we really get the word month, right? That's kind of what that is, but that's in our world, right? So what it means to me in this game is that this is basically the school of the moon, right? It's kind of weird because in Dark Souls you have that kind of same what's it called, covenant, right? So these people are basically the tribe of the moon, or the school of the moon, and they believe in the moon. Whether they believe in the moon as a god, or maybe there's something else acting as the moon, as the god, who knows? And especially in this world right now. But they definitely believe in the moon, and they're doing something, and they're trying to summon something by using the moon. And I don't think the church likes that. I think they're very against it. Now, I get this bolt paper, and it says, invented by Archibald, the infamous eccentric of the Healing Church workshop, artificially recreates the blue sparks that are said to surround dark beasts. Unlike the other strange weapons created by Archibald, this one is favored by many hunters, in particular those who even once laid eyes on a dark beast. We're going to talk about Archibald here in a minute, and because there's a couple things you find here from him, and it's very interesting here, because I kind of make a speculation, but I think I have some evidence to justify it, but it's not, it can definitely be definitely could be destroyed probably by someone else, maybe who's further along in the game. But I really think Yahar'gul is an unseen village because they don't want to be known. Like they want to maybe act like they're still part of the church, or maybe they're trying to just kind of stay away because they're doing something that the church doesn't like. And I think that's their belief in the moon. I don't think the church likes that. Also, it doesn't seem like this is a nice place anyways. It's not like these guys look like they're good guys. Maybe their ultimate goal is a good guy, but that saying where it says the ends don't justify the means. It seems like they're kidnapping people and basically torturing them for some kind of summoning ritual, a nightmarish one. But that is what they are. They seem to be worshippers of the moon. And by their uniform, you can tell that they're kidnappers. They look like hunters, and so again, alluding to that, they're disguised as hunters. Maybe they want to look like they're. That was a sick shot. I'm just gonna throw that out there. That was awesome. And that they're just pretending to be, just so that they can get their objective done, what they want to get done. And you can tell by their clothes, right? They have metal, which isn't usually found in hunter clothing, metal to protect their face. So maybe because they don't want their attackers scratching them or poking their eyes or whatever. Also, that the ropes on them are not only for defense but also for binding. In other words, capturing. Again, so they're really not hunters; they're more kidnappers than anything else. And they're sacrificing them. That's the simplest way of putting it. I don't see any other conclusion of what they're actually doing with them. I don't know how they're sacrificing. It looks like they put them in that chair and put that cage around their face, but you haven't seen anything else. So I'm heading over to this area, and there's a very special weapon coming up. It's called the Tonitrus, I guess would be how I'd say it. And it's a very interesting weapon. It talks about Archibald again, but to get over there, I have to kill these hard-ass dudes again. And I take my time throwing pebbles at them, because Pebble's the most OP thing in the game. Like, it seriously is. Like, use it. If you've come up to a group of enemies, just use the pebble to make it easier on yourself. The dogs are easy to just backstep and then lunge attack. Usually get your health back and everything, even if they hit you. So one of the things I think after we talk about Archibald, I'm going to talk a little bit about insight and kind of how that, not as a mechanic in the game, even though it does have even though it has a mechanic in the game that it does some stuff, I think it also has some lore significance, especially at this point in the game when they're talking a lot about dreams and nightmares and what have you. But let me get this first out of the way, because I don't want to start talking about insight and then have to, you know, stop talking about it after just getting into it. These guys are assholes, and you can tell that I'm way under leveled, because these guys are taking a lot harder to hit, and they hit me and they almost kill me every time they hit me. So look at that. Dang, that's a lot of health. I use a lot of healing vials here, a lot of blood vials. I'm going crazy. When they do that red spell, they go into like rage mode, so just be careful. Alright, here we go. Take a good look at that guy, because he, I believe, is a hunter, a real one, and he has what they call the Tonitrus on him. And the description of this is as a unique trick weapon contrived by Archibald, the infamous eccentric of the Healing Church Workshop. Striking this particular Iron Morning Star flail like a match generates the same blue sparks that blanket a dark beast. Unfortunately, for reasons untold, the hunters of Archibald time did not fully take for his design, so they didn't like this weapon. So why would this hunter have this weapon? I think it's because that hunter is Archibald. I think that was him, and I think what ends up happening is that the church, the good healing church, decides that they figure out what's going on in this village, and that's why it's so run down and it looks like it's beaten up. It's not like lively or anything, but then again, most of this world isn't. It would be weird if all of a sudden this area just was super lively. I think they end up trying to attack it, and I think they ultimately fail, because you can see that this place still exists and there's still kidnappers and stuff here, and I think they use Archibald to do it, trying to use his lightning to help destroy it. And the reason why I think that's Archibald is because it blatantly says that no one likes his weapon. So if no one's using his weapon, then he would probably be the only one that uses it ever. So to find that on that body, I would just say that that's probably Archibald's body, and they decided to send him here to hunt these people, or maybe to figure out what's going on. And maybe he wasn't here to start a war, but maybe he's here to figure out what's going on instead. And he kind of finds out a little too much, and they kind of are like, you know what, we're gonna have to take him out. He might be the one leaving all those notes for you also, because I wouldn't think the Yahar'guls would be leaving their notes around like that. So he might be the one leaving those notes saying that this is what's happening, they must be stopped and all this stuff, because he from the notes in the thing, for even though he's part of the healing church and we don't know if they're really good or bad yet, from what it sounds like, he's just an eccentric dude that loves lightning. And he loves these dark beasts, and he thinks they're cool looking. And I'll have to agree with him. I fight Dark Beast Paarl coming up at the end of this, and I think he's one of the coolest looking bosses. I have like a fascination with lightning. Apparently, I'm not like really a fascination with lightning, but in video games for some reason, I think like this Tonitrus thing is cool as shit. Even though it doesn't seem to be the greatest weapon in the world, I think that's awesome looking. Like, I like lightsabers. Like, I don't know, it's just, I just like those things. If you play Monster Hunter, I like this Ogre. It's like one of my favorite monsters to hunt. So I really like those kind of things. But he seems, to get back to what I was talking about, it just seems like he was sent here to figure something out, and it ultimately looked like it failed, and he was killed for it. I also think that the Dark Beast Paarl was a cleric, either maybe sent with Archibald or maybe not. At first I thought maybe Dark Beast Paarl was Archibald, but there's nothing to really state that. But the reason why I think it was a hunter or someone that was sent with him, one of the clerics, is because he has a pendant that is supposedly only made, and we'll get to that when we fight Dark Beast. Now that's really that's really all I have on Archibald. There's not much else alluded to him. He's only really, I think he's only really seen in this area. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll find something else later. But it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. I don't know why. I think he's one of those side characters that FromSoft likes to put into these games where you get a little bit about him, you know, but you don't learn so much. You don't learn like a great deal about him, and you only find him like in a certain area, and then that's it. You know, like they kind of did one deed, or they had like their own little side story, part of them, like a little side story that is part of the main story, but they're just a little bit of it, and there's nothing else, right? And kind of like you want to compare it to maybe I'm trying to think. Every time I try to think of a name from the Dark Souls series, I get lost. What's his name? Like, think of Logan or something like that, right? Where they have like a little side story. They're part, and it usually partakes and does something to the main story, but they're not the whole story, right? And that's kind of what I think Archibald is, and I think that's what this alludes to, is that, man, there's that word again, that the Healing Church didn't like what this. They found out what this village was doing, sent him here to figure out either what's going on or to attack it, and apparently that didn't work. Attacking it might be too much. He might have just been sent here to figure out what was going on. And what ended up happening is, when we get to Dark Beast Paarl, I'll talk a little bit about what that scenario looks like if you really think about the way it's set up. I tried to use this on this guy, and I think, do I fail here? I think I failed here. I think what ends up, nope, maybe, oh yeah. Look at that. How did I hit him twice with that and it didn't even kill him? And then camera gets stuck, and And right here is where I freak out. I freak out because I realized it just had 20,000 souls, and I was like, oh god. So I got to get back there. I run back there and I get them, and then I end up teleporting back to Hunter's Dream because I want to use them. I didn't want to lose them again. So now I'm talking about, we talked about nightmares, we talked about dreams, right? Why would one place call it a nightmare, another place call it a dream? Some people call it both, or like they interchange it. Sometimes you see a little bit in one area and another. But to me, really, a nightmare and a dream are the same thing. A dream is just a nightmare is just a bad dream, right? That's what a nightmare is. It's basically the same thing. But why do they keep calling it a dream? Is it because it keeps replaying over and over again? That scared the shit out of me when I first saw it. I was like, what the fuck was that? Is it because it keeps replaying? Is it kind of like a dream, you know? Or is it because there's unseen things in the world and it makes it feel like it's a dream? You really, right now, I can't really tell you the answer to that. But I do know that insight plays a big role in a lot of this, and that insight seems to change your environment around you as you gain more of it. The other thing about insight is when you gain more of it, your beasthood goes down. So you're less of a beast, and I guess you're more of a person, or more of an insight, or a god maybe. I don't know. I don't want to say god. That's probably a little too much, but insight seems to have this lore significance, and the biggest one is that it changes the way the world looks. One of my friends told me that he went into an area, and at that time when he went there, there was something there, and then when he got there again, it was there when he got there again. It wasn't there the first time he went there. I'm trying to get my story straight. And I was like, what are you talking about, dude? Get out of my face. I don't want to listen to you. Stop ruining things for me. It's the same for ruining everything for me. So I was like, okay, whatever. But, you know, him telling me that makes me think that, you know, it kind of lets me talk a little bit more about insight, and that it really has an effect on the world. And I think it's because it lets you see the unseen, see the things that are going on, that if you're turning into a beast, you don't notice, right? Sometimes you get so caught up with, you know, yourself that you don't see what's going on around you. And I think insight lets you see that. I think insight is what really starts the whole thing with the scholars and Bergenworth. You know, they gained a lot of insight from something, and and I think really what it was is a blood. And I'm really starting to think it's a blood from one of the old ones. Or isn't, no, great ones, sorry. The old one is Demon Souls. Great, from one of the great ones. I look at this letter again because I wanted to see what it's talking about. It's talking about halting the source of the scourge. So that looks like, again, that's my mission. But like I said, I'm really starting to think they either got some of this blood, or something happened where they ended up, and you know, you see chalices, right? They're not everywhere in the world, but they're everywhere once you start doing the underground tombs, and that's where all this stuff supposedly started. So maybe kind kind of like demon souls, the great ones were put to slumber by something, and or put to sleep, or they were underground for some reason, or they were dead. And what ends up happening is these scholars find the blood, or the quote-unquote holy medium, and it gets kind of what everything started, right? It gives them the knowledge to do things with whatever, and it gives them that knowledge and ability to do so. But I think also that brought in what the plague and everything else. So with progression, you know, they get regression. And I think that's kind of how it all started. Now, you can go a lot more in depth with that, and I probably will one day when I get the full story, but that's kind of where I'm thinking all this is headed, is that something started out at the beginning. These scholars went down into the old tombs, I think they're called the old god tombs, or the old lord tombs, and they went down there, and they found this holy medium, and it's part of the old, or the great ones. And like I said, there's more than one. So there could be multiple great ones, and that's why there's multiple chalices, right? If you remember, there's the Meru, what was the one? Is something, I forget. Isolus. I want to say Isolus, but that's not, that's Dark Souls. But they have, or Hinterland, or man, now I'm thinking Dragon Age. I am all over the place. I need to write these things down. But I didn't really think chalices were going to be part of my discussion today. Actually, I'm like ad-libbing all this right now. I didn't put it on my notes, so. The different chalices allude to maybe different great ones. There could be more than 4 or 5 or whatever there is right there, but they could be all different types of great ones, and it's these chalices where the blood was found, or whatever drink. They got that purple drink in there, in that chalice, and that's what started this all. To me, it's going to be blood, and it's the blood that gave them the power to know and have insight, you know, onto these things, and seeing what really their world was, and not so much just the world they thought they lived in. And that might allude to what it means by dream, when you're not. I thought about it earlier today when I was thinking all this up, and I was like, man, it's kind of like the Matrix. And I was like, but it's not, because, you know, it's obviously not robots. Watch it be robots. Watch it at the end, it's just like a fucking robot, and they're like, it's just robots, deal with it. It's the way this game ends, is robots. But no, like, so, you know, like, they see the world as they want to see it, but with enough insight, you actually see the world for what it really is. And that's what I think the lore part of the insight is. And that's why as you gain more, you start seeing things differently. You start seeing for what it actually is. Now, right now, I'm just like effing around. I level up my weapon, and I remember, oh, I can slot gemstones into it. So I go up there and I go back to doing this. All I did was scroll up and down the menu until I found the one that gave me the most attack, and I plugged that one in. I didn't really even look at what the other ones did, but some of them look like it says, you know, when you have high HP, you do more attack or something like that. You know, fiddle with it. And I think as you upgrade the weapon, you can put more gems in it. So I think I still have one more slot for that axe. And then I don't know when I get it, but that seems to be the way it's working. So I think I finally decide that it's time to go back, maybe. And this is where I realized also where it's actually skipping the story, because if you notice, the first tombstone is all the areas I've been to already, and then the second tombstone is nothing, and then the third tombstone is this place. So I'm like, wow, I skipped the whole tombstone. And if there's as many teleports as there are on the first tombstone, I skipped a lot in that second part. I'm an idiot right here. I almost died. Look, he hits me once, and I'm almost dead. I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. And I'm sitting here, and I'm just like, oh, I gotta kill this guy. And then I thought about it, I was like, really, I thought about it afterwards. Like, right now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, he just ran away. He can't follow me. He gets stuck. But I think I really wanted the souls for some reason. I don't know why. Because in a minute, you're going to find out that it's pointless. You know where I'm headed. I told you I'm fighting Dark Beast Paarl. So that's why this is going to be pretty much pointless, because I get these souls. And yeah, you can assume that the first time I met him, I probably died. I had no idea what I was doing. But there's a pretty cool strategy with it, especially with the Hunter Axe. I don't know if it's going to work with the other weapons, but definitely with the Hunter Axe. Every time he runs by, I freak out. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about that guy. Freaks me out. But yeah, there's a cool little tactic, and we'll talk about it when we're fighting him. Give a little strategy on how to beat him. He's freaking, like I said. Oh, look at this sick grab. I'm trying to figure out what is that's up. This is like, what is that? I'm trying to figure out what that tool is that they're using. It looks like a... I don't know. It's just weird. I need to figure out what that tool is, because that's creepy. But it looks like maybe it's something that they're using to torture the people down here with. But I have no idea what that was. It's creepy as hell, though. These things are creepy. As you can see here, the prisoner is all locked up. It looks like they're pretty much lost all hope. They remind me of some of the enemies from like Dark Souls where they're just sitting there and they're pretty much useless. They're not even really enemies either. When you run by, they get up and try to attack you, so they do try to at least attack you, but seem to be pretty much pointless. And these big beggar guys, I call them I don't know how I'd call them a beggar. I think they look like beggars. I call them Santa Claus because of their hump sack. They're Santa, and but they bear gifts. It's like Santa from Futurama, where it's just evil. These guys, I think, are the ones that are supposed to be the hunters, quote unquote hunters, but they're not really. They're the actual kidnappers, because they're the ones that actually bring you here in that big bag of theirs. It's creepy as hell. And like I said, if you play this area, you get to this area, just listen to the music, listen to everything going on. It is very, very creepy. The music all of a sudden gets loud and stuff. It's intense. It gets pretty intense, especially if you get here normal way, then you know it's probably not going to be as crazy as when I went through here. I got here and I freaked out. Like I was, oh my god, oh god. And as I go through here, you can see I was taking it really slow, and I was worried that I was going to die a lot. And I thought I was going to maybe have to not go through here. And that's why at that one point in the video, I was like debating whether to get the key or come here. And I was like, well, I don't want to get the key because I feel like there's still a way around it. And I could probably look it up and just find out, honestly. Which is what I might do. I'm not 100% sure. I might look it up to figure out a way around it. I might just try to find it myself with my other character. But the other character, I bought the key. So if I do figure out a way around, maybe I'll find it with that person. And if I don't have any luck, maybe I'll try to look it up and see. Just because I want to put it on video, I don't, you know, it's easy to buy the key, right? Everyone knows how to buy the key and go to the gate. But to me, you know, throwing something that isn't the obvious way would be better and more helpful for people as you watch it. So there's a cool little hole in the wall right here. Which this also makes me think, like, maybe this is the way Archibald entered when he decided to sneak in here and figure out what's going on, right? So these are like little things I'm thinking, like, why is this hole in the wall? Why is this that way? And why is that entrance, that door that I keep swinging around, and there's something spiky on the ground right there? That door leads to Old Yarnum. So, you know, just think about all these things, locations and stuff, because we're going to talk about it here in a second. So that right there, I'm looking at it because I'm like, what is that? I didn't know what it was at first. I was just like, that looks weird. Maybe it's just the way it's supposed to look. I start looking up to see what kind of where I'm at, because I like trying to figure out where the hell am I? Like, where is my general location? The game kind of take a crazy turn because you were in Yarnum, and you're trying to figure out all the paths in Yarnum, and then all of a sudden you went from that to a bigger scope of, okay, now where am I at? Now what am I doing? You know, so it's very interesting. Now you gotta kind of put a bigger map in your head of figuring where you're at. Like, I honestly, at this point, I told you that that's Old Yarnum, but I didn't know where I was. I just knew Yarnum was that way, but I didn't know where that door led. I know now because I actually went through it. So yeah, this is Dark Beast Paarl. Look how cool he looks. Like, to me, he's freaking awesome. He looks to be like almost bare bones. Actually, he looks bare bones, honestly. Very old, you know, probably, because all the other werewolves seem like we thought at least have some skin on him. This guy doesn't even have that, but it might be because of maybe some experimentation done to him. It may not just mean that he's old. I mean, it means because he is lightning, and you haven't fought another one that has lightning on him either. So that could be why it's like that. I have, like I said, I think this is a cleric actually, and I think he was one of like Archibald's friends, because you'll see that it leads to it. The biggest thing here, what I was trying to do was learn against all its moves. Like I say, the first time you fight a boss, just try to stay back and try to look at what moves it has. Usually every boss will have, well, in this game so far it seems like they have some kind of swipe, they have some kind of smash, they have some kind of lunge to get you closer. I noticed here that you can go under him though, so I start going like, oh, I can get under him, he doesn't do anything. Or it didn't seem like it at first, he was going to do anything, so I was like, okay, maybe that's a strategy. But I don't know what I'm doing. Now, what I figured out here is that when you knock him on the ground and he falls, he loses electricity, and then he has to do that to charge his electricity back up where he yells. So I realized this on when I fight him again. Actually, I think I fight him 3 times. So I fail here. I'll tell you right now. I lose here, and you're gonna see how. Like, it's the same way I die every time I fight these guys. I put myself in a corner and then I get stuck. That's how it always happens. He charges up like twice here. And I'm like, oh god. But see, as he falls, his electricity like disperses And he's kind of stuck. So to me, that also means that he's not a true dark beast. And again, I will talk about this in a minute. I really want to talk more about this. First, we'll talk about the fight. And what else? What else about him? Oh, he does an explosion attack, and I don't think you see it yet. It's not when he yells like that. This is the explosion attack right here. You want to be away from that. It does pretty good damage. I don't think it kills me one shot, but it's pretty close. He's again charging back up, but you can get under him. That's what I find to be the easiest way, and that's what I keep trying to do. But right here, he starts doing this a lot. When you go under him, he starts doing that a lot more. And I'll show you how I beat him in this next turn. So like I said, I think I died twice to him, and on the third one, I figure out a lot about how to beat him. I figured a lot more on the second one on what to do. So the two things I wanted to show, the reason why I start back here instead of back at the boss is because I want to show the boss run. You can boss run right to him. You don't have to fight anything along the way if you don't want to. And the other thing was, the other reason why I stopped and I didn't show the second fight was because I had to go back and I had to get some more health files because this place took up a lot. So I had to go farm for them. But I didn't level up. I didn't use anything to level up. All my money or all my blood echoes went straight to health files actually, just so I had enough for this fight. I believe this is the one. I love this fog door, by the way. Look, it's just there. I can honestly say that there's no lore, I think, to the fog doors. I don't think there's any lore involved. I think that is purely just game mechanics, so you can have an entrance to the boss. So I figure out in the second fight that hitting their legs knocks them down. That's what really kind of knocks him down, and hitting his face. So if you can hit any of those, you can knock his ass down on the ground. He hits me right here with that. I thought I was going to get him on the ground, that's why I kept attacking. And he hits me with a stupid little power-up, so I was like, damn it. But all I do is I dodge in. This is the one boss where I'll tell you to go ham. Like, go all out on this guy, like, as much as you can. If you take a hit, back up, heal up, but then just jump right back in. Try to get under him. Try to time your dodge from his attack to get under him. But you can also just run under him. Like I did right there, I just ran. And then when he disperses, now, here's the key. You want to keep him on the ground as much as possible. You do not want him to charge his electricity back up. And the best time to hit him is when he's charging his electricity. So if you see him back up just like he did right there, he's going to charge. Just start hitting him. Whatever you got. Because look, the minute I did that, he falls back down and he loses his electricity. And then I kind of go ham on him again. I start hitting him. I'm really trying to hit his face right there. That's why I started swinging around him. This is, to me, I think the easiest way to kill this guy. There might be other methods. The Hunter Axe seems to knock him down a lot quicker, I think, than other weapons. But and like I said, once I beat bosses, I look up stuff. So that's why when I say like it does it better than other weapons, because I looked it up. It does seem to knock them down better than other weapons. It's not because I sat here and actually tested all the weapons out or anything. You just look up stuff and figure that out. He seems to have a crack on his head or something. I can't really tell. But that's all I do. And then right here, I almost die actually. I run in here and I kind of go kamikaze on him. He hits me, I'm like, oh no! But I hit him before he hits me again. And I heal from the hit, so yes, I survived. That's how I beat him. Get my joy move on, and you get an item called Spark Hunter Badge, and this is where we're going to talk a little bit about Dark Beast Paarl and what and who he is, while I kind of explore what's past this door, because at this point I didn't know. I do know now. It's old yarn. I thought it was a rune at first, and I was like, oh, it's actually a hunter badge. Badge crafted in secret by Archibald, the infamous eccentric of the Healing Church for his friends. Archibald was fascinated by the blue sparks that emanate from the hides of the dark beast and dedicated his life to its artificial reproduction in a style of inquiry that incidentally closely followed the methodology of Bergenworth. I don't think we really know what that methodology is. Maybe it's rune, making runes, rune smithing. I couldn't think of the word rune smithing. But he makes it secretly. So like I said, the first thing to note was that he makes it secretly, and he was part of the Healing Church, and that he had it. And I think that's why he had to do it secretly, because the Healing Church, remember, has their own badge, and remember their symbol is the silver sword, blah blah blah. So he had to make these secretly, and he gave them to his friends apparently. So he has friends, which is also crazy, and he's infamous. So he's well known, he's known for this. He's an infamous eccentric. So that's maybe why he was sent there, right? He was famous or infamous, and they wanted to send him over there, and they wanted him to figure out what was going on in Yahar'gul. He wanted to recreate the lightning that was on the Dark Beast. However, to do this, he had to use the style from Bergenworth, which probably meant that ultimately, whatever that method was, it could allude to that. It led to beasthood or whatnot, but I think it doesn't matter if you're a hunter already. You already have that in you. But I think what it's trying to say is it's like runesmithing. He was trying to do runesmithing because Carl was part of Bergenworth. Carl, the guy who actually does the runesmithing, was a part of Bergenworth. I think he was trying to use that same tactic to make these badges, and I think that's what you see in Dark Beast Paarl. The thing with Paarl is that I think a true Dark Beast would always have lightning on him, right? I don't know. I'm making this kind of is a speculation to me. It would always have lightning, and they wouldn't have to charge it up, right? That's what it kind of seems like what they're talking about. So that's why, to me, that beast right there isn't a real. It's a fake. It's a fake Dark Beast. It's not a real Dark Beast, and I think that's why it has a name named Paarl. I looked up the word Paarl because I'm crazy like that, and there's actually a city called Paarl, and it alludes to the word pearl, but you know, I don't know. Just throw that out there. Maybe someone can make a connection between that and what happened, but I really think that may have been like Archibald's friend or whatnot. Who knows? I first thought maybe it meant Archibald. I think Archibald's the one that you see inside the city with his weapon, and I'm trying to remember why I think that. It's because I think more than likely. It may not be that right there could have been Archibald, but I don't know why they wouldn't just call him that. But or maybe Paarl means something. I don't know. I'm confused about really which one would be Archibald. You know, would it be the guy inside where you find the Tonitrus on, or could that have been a friend who had his Tonitrus? But it alludes that the sign says that he made these for his friends. So that's why I think the guy on the outside is his friend or someone that he knew, and he was the one inside trying to figure out what was going on. But the other thing about Dark Beast Paarl is it seems like he's guarding Old Yharnam. Either he's guarding Old Yharnam or he's guarding Yahar'gul. It looks like when you're staring at him from afar, it looks like he's guarding Old Yharnam. And what ends up, and it seems like now he's just a beast, and it's not that he's guarding it anymore. That's just kind of where he's living. But at first it looks like that's what he was doing. He was sitting out there. He looks like he's kind of protecting it. Maybe something Archibald wanted before he died, or he told him that you need to protect this area. I don't know. It just looks like he's protecting it from Yahar'gul. I think that's the way I look at it. I look at it as Old Yharnam is being protected by Dark Beast Paarl from Yahar'gul. Now, I don't know if there's anything out there that says that that's not true. But for right now, that's the way I'm looking at it. It just seems that way. Why would he be right there, right there in front of the gate of Old Yharnam? And he's not facing the gate. He's facing you when you see him. So he's facing away from the gate towards Yahar'gul. And that's what really makes me think that the church, the healing church, really started not trusting the unseen village. And then they started having their own feuds about what they're doing. And who the good guy is, I don't know. And I think this is where you're starting to see this decision that you may have to make. You may have to choose one side or the other. You may have to choose the moon or the great ones. You know, which one are you gonna choose at the end? So this is kind of where I'm headed with this. I try to pumping up my insight because I don't want to miss anything, especially with what I've just told you. And I believe this is where I end this episode. It's coming up pretty soon, but that's kind of all the lore I got from this episode. There's a lot more I'm going to talk about later on. Hopefully in the next episode we'll kind of get through more of the actual storyline I'm supposed to be taking instead of jumping ahead like I kind of did right here. I just thought it's interesting that you can get abducted, and it scared me, and I thought that was cool as hell, and I want it on video. But I'm also glad it gave me a lot of time to talk about the lore as well. All my speculations. Definitely, like I said, as always, I love to hear what other people have to say about the game, what you think, you know, agree, disagree, it's fine, you know, that's kind of what these games are for. Just don't call anyone stupid. That's all I care about, right? Everyone has their opinion. But guys, I'm out of here. Thanks for your time. Have a good night.